Yo, what's good, people? We are here with Condensed Chaos, part 76. One more part to go, 77 is the finale. Now, witches, wizards, warlocks, magicians, magus, and magi. Yesterday we spoke on the inner world confrontations. We're going to continue with that. Now, as the initiatory process becomes more and more intense, we reach a point where we have, to varying degrees, isolated ourselves from the social world, physically or mentally, and begun to dismember the layer of our personal world so that the mythic world becomes paramount in our consciousness, perhaps in an intensely real way that it has not been beforehand. When we open up the floodgates of the mythic world, we may find that our deep mind speaks to us using what psychologists call auto-symbolic images. That is, symbols which reflect the churnings within us. These may well be entities or spirits from magical or religious belief systems that we have consciously assimilated, or they may arise spontaneously from the deep mind. These entities, whatever their source, may become the first of our allies or guides through the inner worlds that we have descended into. Accounts of shamanic initiation often recount the neo-shaman being tested in various ways by spirit guides and helpers, and if she or he pass the testing, they become allies that the shaman can call upon on returning from the underworld. Not all of the spirits one meets while undergoing the underworld experience will be helpful or benign. Some will try to mislead or misdirect you. In this kind of instance, you will need to rely even more on your own true sense or discrimination. Ghosts are notoriously capricious, and an elder brother once told me to be weary of spirits which herald a false dawn under the dark moon. Particular misguides to watch out for are the spirits who will tell you that you are mystically illuminated beyond a point that anyone else has reached. They are parts of the ego attempting to save itself from destruction. You may have to overcome some of these spirits, not so much by defeating them in astral combat, but by recognizing that they have no power over you. It reminds me of the labyrinth with Jairus and the girl at the end, when she's like, "You have no power over me," and he really didn't. That you understand their seductions and you will not be swayed by them. The danger here harkens back to the necessity of attempting to shed light on as many of your buried complexes as possible. Misguided spirits will attempt to seduce you into feeding those complexes so that you become caught up in them. Spirit guides and helpers usually come in a variety of forms and shapes, and their messages may not always be obvious and may only become clear with hindsight. But then you cannot expect everything to be handed to you on a plate. It is not unknown for spirit guides to put the initiate through a pretty tough time, again, to test their strength, as it were. Powerful spirits don't tend to like shamans who won't take chances or face difficulties to overcome them. This is a hard time to get through, but if you keep your wits about you and hang on in there, then the rewards are worth it. Guides will often show you secret routes through the underworld and places of power there which you can access at a later point. Some Amerind shamanic traditions involve the shaman descending into the underworld periodically to learn the names of spirits which, when brought out again, can be placed in masks or other ritual objects. Another benefit of the ordeal stage is interworld mapping, obtaining or verifying a symbolic plan of the connecting worlds that form the universe. Western occulture gives us conscious access to a wide variety of universal route maps, the tree of life that appears in many esoteric systems being just one well-known example. Western-derived maps seem to have a tendency to become very complicated very quickly. Perhaps this reflects a cultural tendency to try and label everything neatly away. The interesting and intriguing thing about using inner world maps is that you can meta-program your deep mind to accept a number of different maps, images, and symbols will arise accordingly. Our tradition for receiving inner world maps, and indeed any other esoteric teaching, is largely through written word, rather than oral teaching or the psychoactively inspired communion with the tribal meme pool, which are the most common routes for shamans. But it is worth remembering that all the different inner world maps had to come from somewhere, and the most likely source would seem to be the initiatory ordeals of very early shamans, which eventually become condensed into definitive structures. Illumination. The peak of the initiation experience is that of death and rebirth, and subsequent illumination. That such an experience is common to all mystery religions, magical systems, and many secular movements indicates that it may well be one of the essential manifestations of the process stage within the human psyche. Illumination is the much desired goal for which many thousands of people worldwide have employed different psychotechnologies and developed their own psychocosms. Alright, we're going to stop it there. We'll be back tomorrow for the final part of Condensed Chaos. We're going to hit up another book after that. I'll surprise you all with what that is. Hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, or a good night wherever you are.